So let's get into it, and we could talk about all the turnover and the coaching stuff, and it wasn't a crazy week of college football as far as the results. A lot of good games, but I think overall steady at the top. But name I want to talk about who right now is not necessarily at the top of the college football world, right? But somebody who, by the time you get to, I don't know, December, maybe on the lips of a lot of big time fan bases, a lot of big time team fan bases, and that is Drew Mestemaker from North Texas. So this is somebody who here in North Texas, and you see the big stats, and you say, okay, this is one of those Johnny College guys, right? They're not going to be a big time player. They're going to put up big stats in North Texas, and that's fine. But we talk about big time football, they might lack the tools. But with Drew Mestemaker, think this guy's got some big time size at 6'4", 210. You see the athleticism, and then boom, the arm talent to make him. Just that throw alone, you see the poise, you see the tools, you see all the other stuff. Interesting backstory with this guy. So I'll let you get into some of that. But this is really going to be one of the names of college football if he enters the portal.
Yeah, so this is a guy who was kind of introduced to the world in their bowl game last year. I remember seeing some graphics explaining his backstory at the time. He wins the starting job this year, so he keeps going. But he was a true freshman last year, redshirted, started in that bowl game, and performed really well. But the big story is that start in that bowl game was his first start at quarterback since 8th grade. This is a guy who was an unranked recruit, walked on at North Texas, started at punter and safety in high school. I think he only recorded about 300 passing yards in his high school career. Played for Vandergrift High School in Austin, Texas. Backed up Braden Bohannon, who plays baseball for Baylor, and Deuce Adams, who's a backup quarterback for Louisville. And he walks on at North Texas, climbs up the depth chart enough to fill in at quarterback after some injuries and opt-outs in the bowl game last year. And then he capitalized on that moment and has not looked back since, basically. Takes over the starting job. He's been one of the best quarterbacks in the group of five. The stats back it up. Obviously, he put up 608 passing yards and 4 touchdowns on 75 completion percentage this week, which is just completely ridiculous. But he ranked second nationally with 2,400 passing yards this year and fourth with 21 passing touchdowns. This is a legit player. Like, this is a guy that teams all across the country are going to be begging for in the portal. He might be one of the top quarterbacks who enters the portal. North Texas's coach could be on the move. We'll see how that plays out. Maybe he follows him. That's a guy who gave him a chance when he really had no reason to do so. So we'll see how that plays out. But he's really fun to watch, man. And then obviously he put the world on notice again this week.
You talk about Eric Morris, the head coach at the University of North Texas. I mean, 40 years old, and he found Cam Ward at Incarnate Word, who, as we know, was a 0-star recruit, well documented. And then Washington State, you're talking about playing a big role in John Mateer, as I understand, going to Washington State, another underrated Texas quarterback. So there you have it. As Kellen Wiley, our guy, says, he never started a game in high school. Another Texas quarterback, diamond in the rough by Eric Morris. I mean, just that aspect alone, if you're looking for a head coach, I think that gets you excited about this guy, Eric Morris. Also 7-1 in North Texas, so he's winning games as well. I think if you're trying to catch a G5 coach, especially if they bring in Mestemaker, which you saw with Mateer, right, following Arbuckle from Washington State to Oklahoma. If you get a similar deal with Morris and Mestemaker, I think you're pretty happy. A team like FSU, right? I don't know if they'd be in the market for a G5 coach after this last deal. I personally think they'd be better off going with like a Kelly or a Franklin, or kind of like one of those buyout guys that's still getting paid a lot and you can pay them less, but they're proven program builders. But if they do go, or someone else, Auburn, right? Somebody wants to go the G5 route, and you bring in this quarterback, man, that's not an ideal.
Question. Do you think, first of all, I mean, man, some of those throws, the way he was layering it, I mean, over the linebackers, like between the safeties, I mean, just ridiculous. But do you think that there will be, I understand there's going to be some desperate coaches and some desperate programs. So this may be a completely, the question may not be valid, but do you think there will be some programs that maybe let's say it's a Texas, for example, who look at him and yes, there's the ties there, but like, do you think they're looking at it the same way they're looking at that NFL guys, evaluators look at it with quarterbacks? Like, man, only 1 full year starting. I don't know if like he doesn't have that many snaps in his career, like going back to high school, which is a crazy part of his story, but it's something that we have to discuss in that way. Like, do you think the lack of just pure reps would scare some coaches away?
I think definitely. I mean, especially if it's one of these situations that really needs like a stabilizing force to come in and take over their team, like an
Like
FSU,
Ohio
for
State,
example.
maybe in a crazy like a situation. Like, I don't see them going. I mean,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, but yeah,
But
so
like
we'll
Miami.
see. But I
Miami,
kind of
that's a good
definitely could
example,
see
yeah.
that. Yeah. I could definitely see that being the case. It's tough. You see what he's putting on tape this year, but at the end of the day, it's sample size is always going to be in the back of these coaches' minds when they're evaluating him.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what team picks him up. Like I said, if you're taking Morris and him as a package deal, you're probably on a rebuilding mode anyways, which that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, just as far as like a rental, this is not to me a rental player. This is a guy that starts for 2 years for you, which is great, by the way, if you want a quarterback to build around. But you're gonna have to live with some adjustment. G5 to power 4 plus like Kellen Wiley mentioned, didn't look great against USF, which was the best team he's probably played to this point. So there's gonna be a learning curve, but I think you can get a lot out of him over the course of 2-3 years as he builds his experience. You know, 2 names jump to mind with his background, and not comparing him as players, just the 2 names that I thought of, both Texas quarterbacks, which would be Kyle Trask from the Gators, who's been with the Bucs for a few years. I don't know if he's still there now. He was a second-round pick of the Bucs, I believe. A Florida Gator quarterback signed by Dan Mullen out of high school, even though he was a backup to De'Ara King, now a coach at SMU, standout for Houston and the University of Miami. De'Ara King started over Kyle Trask. Kyle Trask had those measurables as a bigger pocket quarterback that King didn't have. King further ahead as a football player, obviously was a great college player as well. Trask, more of an NFL kind of guy, pocket passer. So that's someone who just, as a guy who didn't start in college and now is in high school and now is in the NFL at quarterback, that's one that jumps out. Another one would be Ryan Tannehill. He was a 4-star player, I believe, out of high school, or at least he was recruited as a quarterback. I don't know if he threw it that much. Then goes to Texas A&M, plays some receiver, and then becomes the quarterback. He just kind of looks like him. He's 6'4", he's number 17, right, from Texas. So maybe that's part of why I'm seeing that a little bit. But 2 guys that unorthodox paths to being NFL quarterbacks. We'll see if Mestemaker is the latest one. It's not unheard of, but man, I'm impressed by the production's great. I've seen plenty of quarterbacks from these small Texas schools put up numbers. The tools and the instincts and the willingness to pull the trigger, that to me jumps out with Mestemaker.
Yeah, we'll see if he sustains it, but like North Texas is in really good position right now, just as a team. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do throughout this year.